Our episodes are brought to you by our awesome EDHCC Club, aka the Patron Pledgehammers. Thank you for making our content possible. If you'd like to support the channel and get some sweet bonuses, check out our Patreon link in the description below. Welcome everyone to episode 213 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT. I know, right? More than one episode in a month? What is happening? Well, I'm really working my butt off to try and get back to doing an episode every single week. It is a little difficult, but at least currently, because, it's finding the time to be able to get people over to be able to do the filming and then doing the editing and then juggling around with a whole bunch of other things. Real life is really hard sometimes, but I just want to let you guys know this is my way of letting you know that I really am trying to put out more and more content because, I always thought after the couple of times that I got sick where I wasn't putting out anything for a little while that, you guys would up and leave, but you've been solid like a rock in terms of like a second family to me, and I really do appreciate it. And this is my way of showing you how much I really appreciate everybody that takes even a few minutes out of their day to be able to watch one of our episodes or check out a deck tech. Really appreciate you guys. So thank you so much for sticking with me through thick and thin. Now let's jump into those opening hands. First, in this corner, with an opening hand of a Forest, Wirewood Lodge, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, Elemental Bond, Elvish Harbinger, Finhorn Elves, Concordant Crossroads, and his mono-green general Eladamri Korvecdal. He is yours truly, the host, BT. Next, in this corner, with an opening hand of a Swamp, Plains, Tyrite Sanctum, Felwar Stone, Orzhov Signet, Martial Coup, Children of Corliss, and his Orzhov-style general Kambal Profiteering Mayor. He is the unpredictable Gemi. Jimmy won the dice for to start us off, so let's begin our latest card fight. For our first turns, Jimmy plays a Plains and casts Children of Corliss, while I play a Forest and cast Finhorn Elves. Next, Jimmy plays a Swamp and casts Soul Ring into an Orzhov Signet and then into a Felwar Stone. What a turn for Jimmy. I play Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, and cast Elemental Bond. Then for Jimmy's turn, he plays Tyrite Sanctum and casts his general, Kambal. Then he moves into combat and pokes me with his Children of Corliss for 1 damage, and passes. For my turn, I play Wirewood Lodge, and cast my general, Eladamri Korvecdal. I draw 1 card via my bond trigger, and pass. Jimmy plays a Swamp, and uses his Sanctum to turn Kambal into a god, and give it a +1/+1 counter before passing. For my turn, I play Dryad Arbor and cast Elvish Harbinger. With its ETB, I place the elf creature Wolverine Riders on top of my deck. Then I use my general's ability to pay a green and tap 2 creatures of mine to place a creature from either my hand or top of my deck into play, which brings the Riders into play. I also get a draw from my bond trigger and pass, though I completely forgot which Kambal I was playing against. I thought it was this one you see, when in fact it's this one. But hey, it's too late now.
Exactly. So!
During Jimmy's upkeep, due to the respective effects of Kambal and the Riders, we each basically gain a 1/1 green elf warrior token, and Jimmy gains a life. While I don't gain anything, as my 1 life gain is cancelled by his 1 life drain to me. Jimmy then casts Marsh Flitter. With the TTB, he gains 2 1/1 Black Goblin Rogue creature tokens into play, and also gets to drain life me for 2 via his general, and passes. During my upkeep again, Jimmy and I get another elf token, and Jimmy gains a life. Then for 5 mana, thanks to my current board, I cast the Great Henge. Then I play a basic, and cast Sensei's Divining Top, and check my top 3 cards before passing. During the upkeep, we again gain another elf token, and Jimmy gains a life. Jimmy plays a swamp, and casts Eldrazi Monument. Then he moves into combat, and attacks with his general, Flitter, and Corliss. I can't block as they fly, and take 8 damage. Then Jimmy passes. Once again, during the next upkeep, same story, we each gain another elf token, and Jimmy gains another life. I play a basic, and cast Lightning Greaves, which I equip to my general. Then I pay 1 mana to check my top 3 cards again. Then I cast Colossal Majesty, and pass. Once again, during the upkeep, we each get another elf token, and Jimmy gains a life. Though Jimmy sacrifices a creature to his Monument trigger. Then, still in said phase, I tap my top to draw a card, and cast Wear Away to destroy the monument. Jimmy then draws for his turn, and starts LOLing, saying I made a big mistake, and I should have waited before casting that. Why? Because he casts, of all things, Skull Clamp, to which I am horrified. Yeah, like that. Anyways, he clamps an elf token away to draw 2 cards. Then he plays a swamp. Then he clamps away a goblin to draw 2 more cards. Then he casts Noxious Gear Hulk. And with its ETB, he destroys the Riders and gains 4 life. Next, he clamps away another goblin to draw 2 more cards and passes. During his end phase, I use my Henge to simply gain 2 life. I start my turn by replaying my Sensei's Top and checking my top 3 cards with it. Then I use my General's ability and tap 2 creatures and reveal my top card, which in this case is Master of the Wild Hunt, which goes into play. It gains a +1/+1 counter via my Great Henge, and then I draw 2 cards via the Henge and the Elemental Bond triggers. Next, I use my Sensei's Top to check my top 3 cards again. Then I move my Lightning Greaves onto my Master. Then I use my Lodge to untap my General, and use its ability a second time, tapping 2 elf tokens, and reveal my top card this time as Skyshroud Poacher, who goes into play. It gets a counter, and I draw a card via my Great Henge. Then I move my Greaves back onto my General, and pass. Jimmy starts his turn by playing a Plains. Then he floats 2 mana with his Soul Ring, and uses 1 to clamp his Marsh Flitter to draw 2 cards. Next he casts Mentor of the Meek, followed by Karmic Guide. With a TTB, he returns the Flitter from his graveyard to play, which in turn, with a TTB, gives him 2 more Goblin tokens. He uses the Meek's ability twice to draw 2 cards. Then he moves into combat and attacks with his Noxious Gearhulk. I declare no blocks and take 5 damage, but I do gain 2 life by tapping my Henge. And I use the mana from it to check my top 3 cards as Jimmy passes. I also remember at this point that Jimmy's drain life would have happened for 2 damage as he made his 2 Goblin tokens when his Marsh Flitter came into play. During my upkeep, thanks to my Master and Jimmy's General, we each make a 2/2 Wolf token, and I get drain life for 1. Also, as my Master of the Wild Hunt is currently a 4/4, my Colossal Majesty trigger happens, letting me draw a card. I play Reliquary Tower and cast Elvish Archdruid. I equip it with Greaves. Then I tap him to gain 9 mana and tap all mana sources I have currently except my Lodge, giving me a grand total of 19 mana. I also gain 2 life from my Great Henge. Then I tap my top to draw a card and cast Genesis Wave, where X is 16. Let's go, guys. The 16 cards in question are Sensei's Divining Top, a Forest, Kogla the Titan Ape, Avenger of Zendikar, a Forest, Garruk's Uprising, Ghalta Primal Hunger, Cultivate, Beast Within, 2 more Forests back to back, 1,000-Year Elixir, Mossword Bridge, Beastmaster Ascension, Court of Calling, and finally Swiftfoot Boots. All permanents go to play while the rest go to the graveyard. Triggers-wise, in total, I get basically the following if I remember correctly. I have Kogla fight Kambal, killing it. Gemi and I each gain 11 0/1 plant tokens due to his generals seeing the plants come into play. And Jimmy drain lifes me for 11, I believe. I draw 2 cards for each creature that came into play via the Great Henge and the Elemental Bond, and they each get a +1/+1 counter. Also, thanks to Garruk Uprising's effect, I draw another card. Next, I use my General's ability, tapping down my 2 wolves, and from the top of my deck, I reveal Toski, Bearer of Secrets, which goes into play. It gets a counter from my Great Henge, and I draw another card. Then I move my Greaves onto my General and use my Lodge to untap my Druid. Then I tap the Druid again to help cast Reclamation Sage. With his ETB, I blow up the Skull Clamp. Next, I cast Triumph of the Hordes to grant my creatures +1/+1 and infect this turn. And finally, I cast Concordant Crossroads to grant all my creatures haste. Then I enter combat and attack with everything, which puts more than enough counters on the Ascension to grant my creatures a further +5/+5, making even my plant tokens that were normally 0/1s into 6/7s with Trample, Haste, and Infect. Despite Jimmy having ample creatures to block, with the difference in power and Trample, as well as the Infect factor, allow me to deal lethal damage to Jimmy to take a well-earned victory. That game was wild. I accidentally ended up giving Jimmy a lot of free fodder that game thanks to my Wolverine riders. It served him well, especially when he got Skull Clamp. I am now considering really putting Skull Clamp into my Risk to Redeem deck. I mean, I always thought I wanted to keep all my tokens in play, but sometimes that draw power can be the difference between winning and losing, I have to say. Let me know in the comments if you agree with Skull Clamp being in a Risk to Redeem deck. Speaking of insane, that ending was nuts, right? But it wouldn't have been possible without that lucky top deck of Genesis Wave. Easily one of the most broken cards in green, which I would say on average 9 out of 10 games will usually at least give you 1 or 2 really powerful cards that will either help you turn the game around or just win it for you all the same. Agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. Give you access to some sweet extras like bonus entries into our giveaways, your nickname in the EDHCC club, and much more. Also, we're still trying to reach 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube, so help become part of our awesome growing family and smash the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out a lot. Well, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot to me. Stay warm, stay safe, and keep on card gaming. Love you all, and cheers.